Welcome to Operations with Radical Expressions. Let's get started. Remember that an equation is a mathematical sentence that has an equal sign. So this is telling you that 3x plus 1 is equal to 5. So this would be an equation. Whereas an expression is just a mathematical phrase like this, 3x plus 1. So this would be an expression. There is no equal sign. So you can see an equation has two expressions together, whereas an expression never has an equal sign. So you can see all of these are expressions, and all we're going to do is simplify them as far as possible. This right here we've done before. All we would do here is combine like terms. So a 3x plus a 4x is 7x, and then a negative 2 plus a 1 is negative 1. So what we did here was we combined our like terms. With this expression, we've got to distribute that negative sign. So this becomes negative 4x minus 1. Then you can combine your like terms. So first step, sorry, this was your step over here. Over here, your first step is to distribute that negative. Then combine your like terms. So you can see this would end up giving you 3x minus 4x, which is negative x. And then minus 2 minus 1, or negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. This last one, you're going to FOIL it. 3x times 4x, 3x plus 1, negative 2 times 4x, negative 2 times 1. So your steps would be to FOIL, then we would combine like terms. So notice with all of these expressions, we end with combining like terms. What we're doing now is adding and subtracting radical expressions. So we're going to combine our like terms here. A 2 with the square root 5 and a 7 with the square root 5 is going to add to 9 with the square root 5. Because we did the 2 plus the 7, and they both still have the square root 5. Over here, we've got 3 with the cubed root of 5 minus 6 with the cubed root of 5. So we're combining our like terms. These are like terms. Just like if this was an x and this was an x, you can combine 3 minus 6, which is minus 3 cubed root of 5. So now you can pause the video and you try A on your paper. Alright, and you should have gotten 7 square root 7 on your example, letter A. Now let's look at the next example. We've got 3 square root 2 minus 2 in its own set of parentheses plus 4 square root 2 plus 1 in its own set of parentheses. So just as, again, if we treat this like a variable, just as if it were x, like we did before, we're combining our like terms. This is 3 square root 2 plus 4 square root 2, and that becomes 7 square root 2. And then we do negative 2 plus 1, which is negative 1, or minus 1. So 7 square root 2 minus 1. We just combined our like terms. Here we're subtracting them. So just like, again, like on the last slide, we want to distribute this negative first. So now we have a negative 4 square root 2 and a negative 1. Then we combine our like terms. So we have 3 square root 2 minus 4 square root 2. 3 minus 4, that's a negative 1 square root 2, or just negative square root 2. And then negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. So pause the video and take a second to try B on your page. And on B you should have gotten 5 square root 2 minus 8 square root A. Alright, that last slide was adding and subtracting radical expressions. Now we're going to be multiplying radical expressions. So here we've got 5 square root of 5 times the square root of 2. Now those can combine into the square root of 5 times 2. which is the square root of 10. So underneath this problem on your page, it says a U try. It's a letter A. Go ahead and try that. And you should have got cubed root of 8, which you could also simplify to 2. All right, so here's our next example. Now we've got 2 square root 5 times a 3 square root 5. So here we want to still combine our radicals just like we did here. 5 times 6. But now we can also multiply these numbers out here. 2 times 3 is 6. And then 5 times 6 underneath the radical simplifies to the 6 square root of 30. Now take a second, pause the video, and try B. And you should have gotten 10 square root 49, which simplifies to 10 times 7, which is 70. All right, so here's what I would say is the most challenging one. You know that here we would need to FOIL. Just like if this was an x, 3x minus 2, 4x plus 1, we would FOIL it. So it's the same thing we want to do here, is FOIL and then combine our like terms. So this just takes a little bit longer. So 3 square root 2 times 4 square root 2. And I'm actually going to write out what we just did here. So we did this times this. And this becomes 3 times 4 is 12. And then we multiply 2 times 2 under that radical, which is 4. Now let's do the next term. 3 square root 2 times 1 times a 1 is just 3 square root 2. Now let's go to the next terms up here. Negative 2 times 4 square root 2. So we've got negative 2 times 4, which is negative 8, and then we still have this square root 2. And then the final terms, the last two terms, we have negative 2 times 1, which is just negative 2. Now we want to look back and let's check and make sure none of these can be simplified anymore. And what I mean by that is the 12 square root 4, square root of 4 we know, it's 2. So 12 times 2 is 24. So now we have all of our terms. And these actually, square root 2 doesn't go down anymore. So if you happen to end up with something like this, square root of 4, that you can take the square root of, do that. But otherwise, leave them as they are. So now we can go back and combine our like terms. We've got a 24 and a negative 2, so that's a number we can combine, and that's 22. And we have 3 square root 2 minus 8 square root 2. And remember, since we're subtracting them, we're combining our like terms, that becomes negative 5 square root 2. So when we FOIL these, we get 22 minus 5 square root 2. So pause the video and take a second to try C underneath this example that we just did on your paper. And you should have gotten 5 plus 2 square root 5 minus 2 square root 5 minus 4. So those two middle terms cancel, and you'll have 5 minus 4, which is 1. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.